Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Tuesday, and all of our guests today are brought to you by the Bayside Oceanfront Resort. That includes Daren Millard standing by. Located oceanside in beautiful Parksville, the Bayside is one of Vancouver Island's premier getaway spots. Exciting additions to the Bayside include their newly opened Bay Cafe, sourcing delicious local products and seasonal cocktail list in the Bayside restaurant. Book your island getaway at BaysideOceanfrontResort.com or call 250-248-8333. And don't forget to mention Donnie and Dolly for 10% off your nightly room rate. It is the Canucks and Vegas tonight at Rogers Arena. Joining us now, the host of Golden Knights broadcast on AT&T Sportsnet, Daren Millard. The pride of Manitoba, former star of Ice Picks. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I just want to mention right off the bat that I was just on a podcast called Orange Slices with a couple of BC boys in Jeff Sharples, former National Hockey Leaguer, and Ian Bagg. And Ian is a star-studded comedian, a massive talent, and they both said to say hi to Donnie.
Wow!
And then they miss you back in the day. So
wow, nice.
I gave you guys credit that I was jumping off to get on with you, and I want to give them credit as well. But Ian Bagg is one of the funniest human beings on the planet. Headliner everywhere.
Well, I'll have to check that out. Keeping in mind that Donnie and Dolly also has a podcast, and so do you as well. The Chirp podcast, right?
Yeah, it's amazing how this self-promotion works.
Yeah. Hey, no playoffs last season for the Vegas Golden Knights. On top of the Western Conference right now. Is that all about health when you compare this season to last season, Daren?
Yeah, you didn't have the rash of injuries, and you didn't have the second wave of injuries. Now, they went through a stretch in December and January where they were really depleted on the back end. They've lost Mark Stone for the end of the season with another back surgery, and they've had multiple different goaltenders playing 5 since the All-Star break. In fact, 5 different goalies have won games for them since that time. So they've had injuries, but their starting 6 defensemen have all been back since the All-Star break, and that's really the engine that drives this team. They've got arguably the best and deepest defense in the league. They don't have a Cale Makar type player, but they've got the Pietrangelo and the Shea Theodores, a BC guy, and a really deep defense in Alec Martinez, Braden McNabb, and Whitecloud and Haig. So that makes them go, and then they've got some really cool and interesting additions in Teddy Bluger and Ivan Barbashev at the trade deadline, which have plugged some holes for this team with some injuries. Right now, they're missing their entire fourth line from the start of the season, and that's a big part of this group. It's not just a go out and get a 20-second shift and come off. They're missing that entire fourth line, but they've managed to weather the storm, and they didn't have that big second wave that they had last year.
You mentioned Mark Stone. What can you tell us about his health? What is it, 2 back operations recently, Daren?
Yeah, and he had the back surgery last summer and was ready for the start of the season. They took care of him during this course of training camp and didn't push him too hard, but he didn't miss a game up until he went back out with the back injury and was having a career season. So it was one, disappointing, obviously, with the health, and the other was it took a big piece of their lineup out, and it coincided with the injuries on the back end, and it took this group some time to get over the fact that Mark was going to have to. There was that middle ground where you were going to either try and rehab it or surgery, and you didn't know which way it was going to go. And this team had some issues getting some wins on the board as they went through that process. But as soon as they decided on the surgery, kind of told everybody, look, he's not coming back right away, and you're going to have to do it yourself. And they've been much better since then, since there was some time limit on it. But I think you could see him in the playoffs. I think there is that possibility, but I don't think there's a chance that he's going to be back for the end of the regular season.
Okay. Daren, you got, the Vegas got Jonathan Quick at the deadline. 5 games so far, 4-1, 2.98 goals against average. Talk a little bit about acquiring him how has he made the transition? Because, I mean, he's been a long time LA King. I don't think he was doing cartwheels when the trade happened to Columbus. But anyways, talk a little bit about acquiring Quick.
Okay, so let's deal with the trade first. So he's 16 and a half years in LA. Wins a couple of cups. There'll be a statue for him out in front of. Is it still the Forum in LA? I can't remember whether they still play. But so it's that currency thing that
Crypto.com.
Crypto.
Yeah, that's it. Crypto. I think it's what really the important part about how it works for Vegas, and he won his first 4 starts with Vegas and was spectacular, including a shutout. Why it works in going to one of your rivals is because there was so much animosity with the initial trade to Columbus. And then going to Columbus, obviously not going to be a playoff team, 32nd in the National Hockey League. He didn't want to play there. Columbus doing him a solid and flipping him to a playoff team took away any ill will from the initial trade. There was none of that when he arrived in Vegas. He was happy because he wasn't going to have to play for a non-playoff team, and he was going to a team that was going to have a chance at the playoffs. And that changed the entire narrative individually and personally for Jonathan Quick. You didn't have this, I'm so disappointed to be traded. Oh, I can't believe I'm playing for my rival. It was all positive because Vegas became his salvation in a large way. So it really worked out well on the mental side of it, trying to get your head around that. And then on the performance part, he was better his last few games with Los Angeles, and then he hit the ground running and was outstanding. And he got a start before they went on the road for 5 games and was good against Montreal. And then Aiden Hill got hurt, and Jonathan Quick went from insurance to the guy in like 48 hours. And they had to play him 3 times on that road trip, and he was great against Tampa, and he had a shutout, and it's been really good. The one loss that he had was at the first game back from the road trip. The team wasn't very good in that, and I'm not chalking anything up, putting any validity into his performance there. He's been everything for Vegas, and what a cool. It's just awesome for somebody to be able to watch him, a legend, and he's had an impact on that side too. People walk around, they go, "Oh, that's Rick. That's Donnie. We're impressed. That's what we do with you guys. That's what they do with Jonathan Quick."
Absolutely. You know, you can't go deep in the playoffs without winning on the road. Vegas, 21-7-5 on the road. Daren, talk about their success away from home.
Well, it saved their season, Rick.
Yeah.
Honestly, at the start of the year, they had a lot of trouble winning at home. It was the worst start in franchise history at home. They've corrected that, and now they're the top 8 team on home ice. But the way this team, they swept a 5-game road trip earlier. They just went 4-1 on a 5-game road trip before this current junket to Vancouver, Edmonton, and Calgary. You take Boston out of the mix. This is the best road team in the National Hockey League when it comes to scoring goals, and that's what they've done. When they are able to score goals away from home that defies logic in the National Hockey League, and it's the one reason when you can look at it that they've been able to battle for first place in the Pacific Division and keep it going. There's a lot of questions why they couldn't win at home ice. I think the other question or other point is just being so successful and being able to win 21 games away from home. And they won 20 games against the Eastern Conference this year. They've dominated in a couple areas that go against the grain.
Jack Eichel. Alex Tuch has more points than Jack Eichel right now. I know Jack has played 3 or 4 or fewer games, but and there are other pieces in that transaction. But how's that going over in Vegas, Daren? The fact that Tuch has more points, having a great year with Buffalo, than Eichel.
Well, fine, because he had a hat trick his last game, so that part has been solid. He's about to hit 30 goals for the second time in his career. He has gone through a couple of dips, but he's also been leaned on defensively by Bruce Cassidy. Bruce Cassidy's really tried to integrate a full game, not just points, with Jack Eichel, and he's been receptive to it. This hasn't been a thing where he's had to really been hard on him and lean on him and try to get him to buy in. He's been really good, and he's managed to turn a lot of challenging situations on the ice into good opportunities because of his positioning and his awareness on the defensive side. Does it take away from some of his offensive production? I'm not going to say it doesn't, because you are aware of it, but I think it's also created some opportunities for him, and I think he's a really excited player right now. He doesn't worry about the tuck thing. I know that there is some noise that I'm sure does get to him, but he's also looking at this as, I'm going to play in the Stanley Cup playoffs for the first time in my career, and that's what's going to happen here in a month. So Tuck can score 50 goals, I'm sure, in the eyes of Jack Eichel, but Jack's going to get to play in the playoffs for the first time, and he couldn't be more excited. And he's leading this team in goals, and he's going to score 30 again, and he probably will end up leading the team in points. I think he's just fine with it, to be quite honest.
Daren, thanks for doing this, and just so you know, you're one of 3 ex-employees of Rogers. Currently on check right now, so I know you're proud of that. There's a lot of us out there, just so you know.
For those that don't know, we do have a secret handshake, and we can't change it. We can't change it as much as we used to because there's too many of us that we have to get a new handshake to.
Yeah. All right, Daren. Great talking to you, buddy. Thanks so much.
Rick
Take
Donnie,
care. You bet.
Be good, guys. See you.
You bet.